Good morning and welcome to day 37. Now, this magnificent structure is the centerpiece of the memorial to the battles of Mohacs, and sadly I'm way too early, it's before 7 o'clock in the morning, to actually gain entrance into there, and I'm not going to wait around for another 2 hours to go in. But I thought I'd show it to you, and I thought I'd show you the surrounding fields. Now, I've told you a little bit about the battles of Mohacs, and I'll just expand a little bit more as we look at the fields surrounding this area and try to envisage two armies facing each other and fighting it out. Now, as I mentioned, the Turks had their eyes on Europe, mainly in the name of Suleiman the Magnificent. Now, quite why he had his eyes on Europe, I'm not entirely clear, but it probably had something to do with the fact that he feared the power of the Holy Roman Empire in the German states. And maybe that had historical reasons in that they responded probably more than anyone else to the calls by the Pope for crusades. And although that had been a long time previous, since then, of course, the Turks had taken Constantinople and what was left of the Eastern Roman Empire and were moving north anyway. But Suleiman the Magnificent made a deal with France to try to counter the power of the Holy Roman Empire, and came north, capturing Belgrade in 1521, which then was a part of Hungary, and 5 years later in 1526 came north to take the rest of Hungary because he wanted to take Vienna, which was the most influential power within the Holy Roman Empire, and he thought that if he could take that, then he would destroy the cohesion of the Holy Roman Empire. So he came here and he was met by King Ladislaus II of Hungary with 25,000 men. Now, Suleiman had his army of 100,000, of which 35,000 were cavalry. So poor old Ladislaus was outnumbered, not 3 to 1 as I mentioned earlier, but actually 4 to 1. And of course, the outcome of that was obvious. And although Ladislaus himself survived the battle, 16,000 of his men were either killed or captured, and he, on escaping the battlefield, was thrown from his horse while crossing a river and drowned in the river. And as I've mentioned to you, because he had no heirs, his throne passed by marriage to the Habsburgs in Vienna, and the rest of the country was ruled from what is now Bratislava by the Habsburgs. Now, Suleiman moved north and in 1529 attacked Vienna, hoping to capture that, but singularly failed. Now fast forward to the end of the next century, and in 1683 the Turks, now under different leadership, made a second and more vigorous attempt to capture Vienna, which again was unsuccessful and was repelled by the armies of the Holy Roman Empire and of Poland. And the Holy Roman Empire responded after that and came back here in 1687. In fact, not exactly here, but 25 kilometres from here to the southwest. And the second battle of Mohacs took place, and again the Turks were defeated, and they were pursued then back south and cleared out of what was previously Hungary. And so was born the Austro-Hungarian Empire, which of course lasted until 1919, the end of the First World War. And it should be remembered, of course, that it was the assassination of Archduke Ferdinand and his wife in Sarajevo which caused the Austrians to attack Serbia in 1914, which sparked the First World War off. And of course, the First World War ended not just the Austrian dynasty, the Habsburgs, but the German dynasty, the Habsburgs in Berlin, and the Romanovs in Russia. And of course, they were all related. So, family squabbles, families, eh? Now I'm just approaching the border between Hungary and Croatia, and on the other side of this fence is Croatia. I'm still in Hungary, and that there is an old Cold War watchtower. Interesting. Now I want to show you this because one of the things that I have liked about driving in or riding in Hungary is, like Canada and Scandinavia, all the cars have daytime driving lights, which makes them much easier to see in my little mirror on my bike. So that's been a great bonus. Well, I've just stopped for a second breakfast, and the croissant that I've just eaten is filled with an apple puree, feta cheese with a few raisins thrown into the mix. And the one I've got in my hand is again a croissant with lots of seeds around it, sesame seeds, and a sausage, which actually is just a hot dog. Now, both don't take a great deal of getting used to, especially if you're hungry. So they're going down well. Now, as you know, I've come into Croatia today, and I've come off the EV6, which at this part of the trail actually stays on the north bank in Hungary. Now I've come over here to see first of all the Mohacs battlefield, and secondly to visit Vukovar, which we'll go to later today. But because I've come off the EV6, it's meant that I've been on roads all day, and very few of them, and this is one of the few exceptions, has got a bike path down the side. But I have to say that the drivers in Croatia, as they were in Hungary before I crossed the border, have been very good, and I felt perfectly safe on these roads. So I've arrived at the city of Osijek in Croatia, and this is not the Danube, but there's a river that flows into the Danube. And over here's an 18th century fortress built around some older fortifications and things, and we'll go and have a look in here, and I'll probably stay here for lunch before going on down to Vukovar. Now, as I said, I'm in the city of Vukovar, and you don't have to look very hard to still see evidence of what went on here. Now, it's not very common, I have to tell you, but I've seen 3 examples already, and I'm still on the outskirts of town coming in. I haven't got to the town centre yet. And here's a building with a lot of bullet marks and things in. Anyway, we'll talk about more of that tomorrow when we go to the memorial here in Vukovar. This, on the other hand, is just a lovely piece of architecture which looks like it wasn't damaged, or if it was, it's been repaired. But I don't think it has been damaged, because if it had been damaged and repaired, the paintwork would all be a lot better. And actually the paintwork looks as if it's a little bit tired, so I don't think that was touched. Maybe they kept religion out of it. Well, just a very quick look at my accommodation for tonight. Excuse the washing out, but has to be done. So again, a very nice little apartment. In fact, actually not so little, to be honest with you. Nice, quite big living area. Kitchen and dining area. That's the main entrance here, and I've got the bike inside tonight. I'm quite close to the road, so I brought that in. A small but perfectly adequate bathroom, very clean, and 2 bedrooms. And I'm in here in one of those beds, and there's another bedroom in here which I'm not using. There we are. So tomorrow we'll talk a little bit more about Vukovar and its history and what happened during the Yugoslav civil war, which tore the country apart when the Soviet Union collapsed.